And so now you've got all of these new young folks that I think are really going to make a difference. Now, this is no disregard to what I would call the old guard,
Right.
the folks that have been there for quite some time, but things turn over, and this is what makes democracy, I believe, great.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I know that some of my fellow candidates, there's certainly a lot of us who are new as far as candidates have gone. If we want to talk about that on the scene, and this is my first time running, and yes, there is a vibrancy that I've seen on the trail.
Talk to me about the camaraderie. Okay, so you guys started out with 19 of you, like about 15 years ago, right? But it feels that way.
Right.
So it started out with 9, it's down to 8, but you guys and ladies have been, at least on the stage together. You've been in each other's company quite frequently.
Right.
Talk about the camaraderie that develops when you see someone that frequently, and you get to really talk about things of importance.
Oh my God. Some of my fellow candidates at different points in the summer became like family to me. I mean, it's crazy that is, because there's competition and what I think we're all used to from politics is this sort of divisive and sort of nasty element of going back at each other. But it wasn't really like that. I had an opportunity to meet an incredibly diverse group of talented young people who were running all over the city and had a variety of different backgrounds and were educating me about where they came from. And so the camaraderie, I think, was in sort of, you take away the race and what we're all trying to do, and we're all trying to get to the top 8 and then eventually to the top 4. I think it was just the element of running for political office, and nobody understands what that is like until you actually are the person running.
Amen, brother.
And I'll give you a story. I mean, there was one time I was in Roslindale one night, and it was raining, and it was, I think, the end of July, and I think half the people that were volunteering for me went down the Cape or something, enjoying themselves. Because look, I mean, that's what people do.
Exactly.
I mean, they're into themselves, right?
Exactly.
And I remember I happened to just bump into someone who was running, and it just was like, they just looked at me, and they had the same look that I did, and I go, yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's it, right, the shorthand, that's all you had to say.
It's just like,
exactly.
I'm there too, But, and then I think that's what you go down and like, why am I doing this, right? I'm not doing it to be famous, I'm not doing it, just to get my name out there, or, no, you're doing it because you believe in something, you're doing it because you think that you can make a difference in individual people's lives, but also have the ability on an effective level to take it to the city of Boston in the budget and make things happen for the global concept of what Boston is. And in my opinion, you have to have the drive to do it, because if you don't, this is just too overwhelming. It's not glorious. I think some people think that they see your name in the paper and you're doing this and you're on TV, there's some element of, it's not. Because people don't realize that you just sat in traffic for a half hour to come over here.
That's right.
You're doing it because you truly believe that you can help people. And I think if you lose that as a society, and you lose it like in a civic sense, we're doomed.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up. I was appointed sheriff back in the end of January, and I bumped into a friend, I think in March, and she said to me, she said, so, how does it feel to be a celebrity? Which like blew my mind. It's like, celebrity?
Right.
What are you talking about? Celebrity?
Right.
This is, to me, the furthest thing away from being a celebrity. This is hard work. And what I tried to impress upon her is, because you may see my name in the newspaper or something like that, that doesn't mean that this is celebrity. This means that we're trying to roll up our sleeves and get something done here.
That's right.
We have far too many people in this nation, in this state, in this city that's incarcerated. Far too many people. We have to get in front of the curve and talk to kids in middle school, and in high school about the ills of going to jail. A lot of these kids, I don't believe they understand that when you go to jail, you lose your liberties, okay? So, we tell you when to get up, when to go to bed, when you can shower, when you have visitation, when you have rec, when you can watch TV, when you can eat. Who wants to live like that? Okay? You just don't want to. That's not something to be celebrated,
no, it's not.
Working in that environment. When you talk about potholes and lamp lights and, having to bang to get these things, taken care of, that's not something to celebrate. It's just something that's necessary.
It's a job.
And needed.
It's a job.
Right.
There's people who pay taxes. And if we want to function as a society, one of the main sort of unglorious roles that a city throughout time, going back to Roman times, is sanitation. And, if you don't have sanitation, you're going to be running out of Boston really quickly. I can tell you that.
No doubt, right.
So those mundane issues that people call mundane, they're not so mundane if the sewer breaks.
That's right.
And so the quality of life issues and maintaining efficiency within the city, the stuff that we're supposed to do all the time, is one of the main roles as a city councilor. Now, the stuff that you were just talking about, what we were talking about earlier with poverty and then going into incarceration. I come from a community. I grew up. I knew a lot of people who were incarcerated.
Right.
People in my family have been.
Right.
And
Mine too.
you know, and one of the things that I've always tried to impress upon younger people, because there is an element, it's a culture change, because as people look at, sometimes kids grow up and they see, oh, it's kind of cool going to jail. The kid gets out of jail and the girls like him, and you know.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy.
It's crazy.
And for people that don't grow up in that element, it's very hard or difficult for them to conceive who thinks like that, you know? Because, you know, most healthy, and I would say, again, why we go back to it being a mental health issue, if you're living in a healthy neighborhood that is functioning in the proper sense, going to law school is cool, right? Or,
Right,
you know, or starting a business, that's cool. Going to jail for 18 months, having your freedom taken away, told what to do, when to do it, and not being able to date whether you're male or female, and you know, having everything taken away from you that you are supposed to be preordained as a human being, is the definition of insanity, you know, in a sense. And you continue to do it over and over again, and we see that not only just on an individual level, people do it. It's generational, and we have to stop the cycles. And politicians have been talking about this for a long time. I think why I can be such an effective advocate for this is because in some element I've been there before with my own biography. You know, I've talked a lot about it on the trail. In myself, I've dealt with addiction within my own life. You know, and that took me to really some dark places. And you know, I've lived in a homeless shelter at different points. However, what I was able to see with that experience is that people can change, and there can be a whole different mindset. You have to do it on an individual level, but you have to aggressively do it. And it's going to take money, and it's going to take commitment, and it's going to take trust within communities that do not trust institutions or anything that's official. And there has to be someone that can go in there and get people to actually trust it. And that's a huge component.
But you know, I mean, your candidacy serves as a role model for a lot of folks, not just young folks, all folks.
Right.
Okay, that may have been where you were, maybe headed where you were, and just meeting you and listening to you, and saying, look, this is not a place you want to go. This is not glamorous. This is not cool. This is not a rite of passage into adulthood or whatever you think it might be. Whatever your boys are telling you, whatever your friends, this is not. It's not. You know,
it's not.
Not the way you live your life. And you know, the thing that really, it bothers all of us, but when you look at the number of, when I look at the number of young ladies, moms, that are coming to the jails with their little kids to see dad in a jumpsuit, in a box, something's wrong with that.
It's unbelievable. And you talked about women. We're seeing, and I know that you know this from your own data, we're seeing far too many women going to jail now that have children, that are mothers. And that, again, we go right back to, again, substance abuse, poverty, mental health issues. We have prostitution that's out of control. And they're ending up in your facilities, right? And then look at, now they have children that probably 7 out of 10 times are probably going down a road that we're not going to be able to save them as a society. It compounds the problem, and in the long run, it makes it more expensive. So we need to fix it now. We need to find a way to do this. And I'll tell you, it's a huge, huge issue. And I don't have to tell you, you're seeing it every day. But one of the things that I'm trying to bring to light with my candidacy, people don't like talking about negative things. It's much, people just don't want to talk about it. Go Bruins, go Red Sox, all that stuff, right? and I'm one of them. I like to dismiss things that I don't want to talk about either.
Sure.
But if you look at just mundane stuff like car insurance rates, health insurance, it is all indirectly tied to all the mental health things that we talked about, and development and taxes and cost of living. If people don't think that they're related to crime and poverty and trying to fix some of the weaker components of our communities, well, we have data that can completely blow them away, because it's the truth. Every time we send someone to jail, we have to pay for that.
That's right.
And then when they get out, and if they're not retrained, and we're not really coming up with a comprehensive program that's actually going to get them into a society where they're actually now paying taxes and being a good citizen, well, they're going to go back again. Because as you know, there isn't too many crimes that are being committed by a lot of the people we're talking about that are going to put you away for that long. They're very petty in nature. They're not they're not violent or anything. They're very self-destructive, and they destruct communities. But they're not anything that, we see this cycle, 18 months in, out, 6 months out, back in, 18 months in, and it kills our society. It is killing it.
Right, and it's generally to feed an addiction like you were talking about, or some other ill of society. But let me offer you this. The former sheriff, Sheriff Cabral, now Secretary Cabral, used to tell this story about a car theft. 18-year-old kid, guy, steals a car. From the time that he steals the car, goes all the way through the system, getting a court-appointed lawyer, so on and so forth, being incarcerated and then getting out, it's cost society roughly around $150,000. Now multiply that by thousands of guys that are doing that. It's just outrageous. Look, we've got about a minute left. What I want you to do is look in that camera there and talk to the folks viewing and tell them why they should consider giving you one of their 4 votes for citywide.
Well, thank you, Sheriff, for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for the viewers, for listening and participating in democracy. And if you can't vote for me, please go out and vote and tell your friends to vote. This is an important thing to do, not only for your current situation for the city, but just in general, to participate in democracy and to participate in your own life. And I think that I can be a good city councilor and will be a good city councilor because of everything I talked about. I've been through a lot of different things in my life to understand on a very personal nature some of the really bad things that are happening in our city. However, I am living proof of everything that can be right about our city, in not only a community level, but also in a government level, and the good people that actually have turned this thing around. I know that I can be a good city councilor. I've worked in the administration before. I bring 5.5 years of experience working with Mayor Menino and also with Mass General Hospital. I will be your city councilor. I will answer every phone call that comes in, and I'm telling you right now that I am going to be one of your 4, and I hope I can get one of your 4 votes. Thank you very much.
Jack, thanks for coming on.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, folks, look, we're out of time. We're out of here. We'll be back again next week. Until then, you take care of yourself. Peace.